Hi, everyone. We are so happy here to have Savitha Sai with us, and she's going to be sharing her story of transformation with all of us. So, for all those who do not know me, I'm an anxiety coach and a hypnotherapist, and I'm really honored and so happy to have Savitha Sai. She's from Florida, and she's going to really share her authentic journey with all of us. And let me jump directly, getting started with some of my questions. Would that be okay, Savita?
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yes.
wonderful. So maybe you can just share with our listeners here that what is it that drew you to reaching out for support with me, and what were you really stuck on in that time of your life?
Okay, so it's what drew me specifically to you, it was a series of events. So I can't say coincidences because it was actually destined to meet you. I had been dealing with depression, anxiety, and what was now panic disorder, and I didn't have the tools. I didn't know what to make of it because I wasn't brought up understanding that. And truly speaking, even though we went through the pandemic, being a person that actually was dealing with anxiety and panic disorder, and it had nothing to do with COVID, it was actually a part of who I am. I was faced with a series of difficult things that needed to be managed. And I really had no idea what was happening. It's all still a big blur. But at the end of the day, when I met Lata, and I had nothing else but to give than a chance. That's all I had to give. Because the other options I had to give was nothing. I didn't have anything to give. For me, I was done. I couldn't care more or less about what next day of my life could look like, or if it was anything positive for me, or if maybe some of the positives in my life I could take away from myself. It was very dark. So, by God's grace, I was destined and I met Lata. And in that process, what drew me from that point to continue working with Lata would be the journey, this journey that she's referring to. And I think it's very important to say now, as you're hearing from me and you're learning about me and my story, to understand that Lata is a person who is there. She she knows what she's talking about. She's educated in it, she's experienced in it, and she's also lived and experienced. And for this particular reason, she is like a mentor, holding your hand and carrying you on your journey. And those things that was a part of my past and the things that are coming in my future, at least I know that I've entrusted myself to someone that genuinely wants to help me.
So,
And
so
that matters.
So, Savita, what you're saying is that period of your life when you're so stuck, and it was such a dark period of your life when you're going through anxiety and depression. It must have been difficult for you to reach out and trust someone who's a complete stranger to you, right? So, what helped you feel safe? When you started working with me, what helped you feel like this person will understand me and she will support me?
Okay. It was very simple. From the very beginning, you took the time. You didn't put the very first consultation we had, you took the time to listen to me and to hear what was going on. You didn't impose your opinion on what was happening, even though you probably knew exactly what was happening, but you allowed me to experience myself. Because with panic and anxiety or all of that, it's like there's two different people inside of you, a positive person and a negative person, and they're always combating. And usually the negative one wins. But the underdog is the good guy fighting, the good girl fighting inside. And when I met you and you spoke to me and you knew how to speak to me, that was the other important. That's the other important part of this is you actually knew how to ask the questions what to investigate and how to help me pull out whatever these things are, even from the very first conversation. And that mattered. And it was a clear difference between having spoken to like psychiatrists and not connecting with that person because it wasn't fit. But in speaking with you, I felt like I was speaking to a friend. And that was very important because you didn't judge me. And the first thing I expected from you would be for you to judge me. And that helped me to trust your words easier because truly when you're in a dark place, or at least for me, when I'm in a dark place, I'm looking for trust. Really, it's like you're stretching your hand out for somebody to grab it and pull you out, right? And the person you want there, or the persons you want there, are the kinds that are going to trust you or are going to extend themselves to see you from one point to other. So being very loyal to you, somebody who's honest but not harshful in the way they say their honesty. And also, you want a person who's compassionate. So interestingly enough, you did that in the first conversation. And that wasn't even the session. The session started the next day. And in the first session now, where I could have elected to say, I don't want this and continue living in the world that I was living in. But in that first session, you sat with me and you explained to me about me having compassion for myself and the way I speak to myself and the language I use and the first small steps to fixing what would be the repair of the past, but would ultimately be what will carry me through in this journey from 2 years ago to now. So it's to what brought me to you was a series of events. What kept me with you is the transformation I genuinely seen within myself from the first day I met you through to today.
Mm.
And that I already know once we continue on this journey in 2 years from now, the person from today will be entirely different from the person that I will be then. And it's a healthy promise. There's many spiritual contexts and many different people out there in the world today that gives information like this. But until you actually have your person with you, not your accountability partner. Lada is not an accountability partner. She is a specific mentor. She's there to guide you and to see you through, right? If putting labels or a therapist is scary or these ideas are scary, because in the world of anxiety and panic, there's a lot of pride involved. And that pride is not it's in the negative side, not the having confidence side. It's more of the taking away from yourself. It's okay. You have a person in your corner, and she is private. She's anonymous. Nobody has to know she exists until you get to a point where you can admit to yourself that you need help and you
Mm.
can be vulnerable enough. So I hope that answers some of
Yeah,
your question.
of
And
course.
I hope one of the other parts that I wanted to share to everybody who's listening here, it's not the idea of, good mental health and all of that. That's the forefront for so many people today. Just like it is, eating clean and exercising daily and meditating and, making sure you have good oral hygiene and you wear clothing that fits nicely so you feel confident. That's all the beautiful external parts of it. But this is a lot of internal processing and growing up and cleaning up and a lot of identifying with yourself by yourself. So, why would 2 years later I still have an investment to want to continue working with Lata, specifically with Lata, is because she has these tools. We hear the tools out there, social media presents it. You can watch probably a segment on a TV show or a talk show about it. That's absolutely fine. But she has curtailed tools for the need in that moment. And that's unique. And it only comes from the fact that she's listened and she's applied her education and her experience and knowledge to know this is an issue she's dealing with. So I'm isolating it, we're working it. And believe it or not, in 2 or 3 days, when that particular situation bubbles up, she's actually capable of handling it because Savitha has the tools. We
Mm-hmm.
worked on the tools. And it's interesting because it's not a book that I can open and say, oh, tool number one, tool number two, and three, and four. And oh, you know what? I'm going through this problem. So let me just use tool number five or tool number seven, or let me pick this one. Maybe it will help. No, no, no. There's the other parts of the work that comes from the sessions that are tied together with the tools that winds up becoming the solution in the moment. And this is something that you won't know. Anyone who's listening and genuinely hears what I'm saying, even if you feel you deserve it or you don't, that's another huge part of the conversation. But it's very relevant for you to know that only until you prioritize this part of your life, then you won't realize how important it is to sit in front of someone like Lata.
Absolutely, absolutely. So maybe you can
And
share some examples, Savita, because people love stories. And I think that really connects to people's heart. And I remember the other day when we were talking on the phone, you were sharing your staple story. And
yeah,
I had almost forgotten that session, but you remembered it and you talked about how powerful that particular session was to overcome that particular anxiety that you had. So maybe you
yes.
can briefly share that story.
Absolutely. I will. I'm glad to share that story. Considering the last time Lata and I actually really spoke about this situation, I was in such a horrible and frightful space. And I remember talking to her about it and I was trembling. So, okay. So first things first, Lata she will be speaking about this as you get to know her. But we all have anxiety. My name is not anxiety. I am not anxious. It's just a part of me. We all have it. So even though I've been working on myself for 2 years and it's been very promising, things happen, right? A hurricane is coming to Florida. Who doesn't get anxious, right? Want to go to Publix and buy every single thing in the grocery store and stock it up and hope that the hurricane goes somewhere else and then feel guilty that it went somewhere else and not here. Anxiety is a thing. So 2 years ago to today, a lot has progressed. But why I say this is because the staple story, it's actually a staple story. The staple story, it's real. It just happened. And I've been able to manage the anxiety going into the situation well. I didn't know what to expect after. So I recently had a surgery 3 months ago. I had for those who don't know what I'm going to say, it's an incisional hernia. So I had a surgery before and they had to cut around my navel. And when they put me back together, it didn't really work. And the stitches broke apart ultimately on the inside, and my intestines popped out. That's a hernia. So ultimately, for purposes of recording, so I had an incisional hernia. And this incisional hernia was really large and it stuck out from my navel. So I took a lot of work to get myself to sit in front of a surgeon. And when I did, we discussed the surgery, what would happen, all of that good stuff. And I took some time to schedule the surgery so I knew that I was mentally prepared for it, which I was. And then after the surgery, when I was asked to remove the bandages about 4 or 5 days, I looked down at my stomach and I saw a string of staples. And anybody here who's listening to the story who's had staples put into your body, you know what it is. It's staples, actual staples. Um, that messed my head up big time. Like it threw me off. And we removed the bandages. We meaning my friends, they helped me remove the bandages, which was supposed to happen for the surgeon. And it was supposed to remain like that for a few days before I sat back with the surgeon for him to remove the staples. So even that idea of removing the staples freaked me out. And I I was stuck. I was laying down on bed. I couldn't move. I was so tense. I was afraid to touch the area. I was exposed. I just had a hard time. And of course, like anybody, you'd want to pick it, but you don't want to pick it. And it's like, oh, my life was horrible. And I didn't know what to really do. So Lata, of course, was checking in on me. And I shared with Lata, I said, Lata, this is what I'm struggling with. I didn't expect that seeing these staples would play on me so badly. And she's like, well, what is it about the staples? And I started sharing what it was about the staples, which is really genuinely just looking on and seeing these staples, right? And it was horrible. That's all it is. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. And so Lata said, okay, we're going to do an exercise. She asked if I was even willing to do an exercise. And of course, I said yes. And she said, okay, well, prepare yourself. And she put me in the zone for the exercise. And we did it. And an exercise isn't me writing something down, it's all me going back inside of myself. So when you do your exercise with Lata, you'll understand the same thing. You're
Yeah.
going back within
A
yourself.
hypnotic
So
exercise. It's a
that
exercise of self-awareness and using hypnosis to change what's happening inside your head. Absolutely. Yes.
there you go. So now that's the other part. You touched on hypnosis, right? So yes. So at this point, I've already done hypnosis with Lata for several sessions, and it's not a magic show. It's not. It's a guided experience. I'm pretty sure there's probably another term that exists in Lata, you can share it, but it's a guided experience. It's all me. Lata is not in my head, not at all. I am like literally with my eyes closed, following the direction to a certain point, and from that point, I actually take over. That's the hypnosis part too.
Absolutely. And all hypnosis is self-hypnosis.
And
So
that's
as a
true.
facilitator, I just am a guide and I guide you to hypnotize yourself to make the
Mm-hmm.
changes that you need to be done within you. So that's what we do. Yes.
That's what she did. And at this point, I've done hypnosis with Lata so many times, I had already known I can trust her. But within the hypnosis session, it's not just like a guided meditation you hear on YouTube or somewhere. It's nothing like that. It's very, very customized. And it's designed just for you and your specific needs, combined and with her tools, what she studied and what's incorporated. And that's the stuff you're not hearing outside. That's the stuff that is locked away for the people who are trained, the professionals. Otherwise, I mean, you really wouldn't want somebody who doesn't know what they're doing trying to help you help yourself, right?
Yeah, and thank you
So,
for mentioning that because that's exactly what's my approach. And you just underlined my unique approach that I use hypnosis, but it feels like a guided experience, but it's different
hmm
from a guided meditation because it's
very
very
much.
customized and it's very specific to that situation that's triggering the anxiety. And we address the emotions that anxiety is being created because of the anxiety and because of the situations, and we address the limiting beliefs that's underlying all of that, and we do all of that in a package as a customized tool within just 10, 15, 20 minutes or however long the session needs to be. And at the end of the time period you find a total shift in how we are experiencing life and how that we are experiencing or even understanding that situation. Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you guys, if you're listening, repeat, pause and rewind and re-listen to what Lata just said there, because that's actually correct. That's how it's been.
Yes.
And like the concept of this limiting beliefs, again, certain things are being so is it right? It's commercialized out there in social media. Limiting beliefs are real, and it's real, and it's it's like a puppet holding on to you. That's what it is. How I just I it not the divine one where God's managing you and you're actors on the stage. I mean, it's like literally something inside of you that's like chains and shackles.
It's
It's
like
preventing you.
chains inside you. Absolutely.
It's
100%.
truly like that. And
Yes.
it ultimately is controlling you. And you
Yes.
think you're doing one thing, and then the limiting belief actually surfaces and does a different thing. It's real. And my limiting beliefs are not your limiting beliefs. And we may have the same parents, it's not the same limiting beliefs. We all have different things going on. And until you're actually in that safe space with someone who is actually giving you this experience, you may not realize what that really is. That's the unique part. You might think one thing and then you might realize it's another thing. So in this situation with the staples, we went through the exercise, and believe it or not, I had a hard time in the exercise. Lata actually had to do a little bit more cajoling with me for me to actually feel okay because I wasn't okay in my body. So of course I won't be okay in my mind. So it took a little extra time until I felt it. So again, it goes back to how I know she has that patience, that compassion, that dedication to see you through. She doesn't just say, "Oh, time's up, bye." She's there. And then at the end of it, there was a shift. The shift is real. It is a real idea. It actually happens. It's a shift. And after that moment, the staples didn't exist. Even though they
Wow.
were gone, the surgeon had already removed them. The staples did not exist. And I tried to pick my brain, like, think about the staples.
So
And it's,
what was the shift that you experienced after doing the exercise? Like what specifically did you experience?
I didn't want to touch the area.
Mm,
That was a big one. I felt like I needed to just touch the staples. Like, oh, what's happening? Nope, I didn't even want to touch it. I
wow.
actually laid on my side because I
Mhm.
was afraid to lay on my side. So I actually laid on my side. I actually felt comfortable leaning against things
Mhm.
because again, it's an incision. It's very nerve-wracking, right? So
Yeah.
that was the most immediate physical part. Mentally, I didn't think about it. That 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 horror, that feeling that I had, it dissipated. Really,
Mm,
like, how to describe it? When you see rain dry up with the sun, light, it dried up. It's
mm,
gone. It was gone. And I really genuinely, you guys, I tried to pick myself to see, oh, is this something that, it's in there, but I'm pretending? It wouldn't come back. And then when Lata and I spoke the other day, I said, Lata, I got to tell you how exceptional this was. I
yes.
didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And it's been astonishing. She said, and I said, I would be more than glad to share with everyone. So now I am not going to tell you what she said, what the exercise was, any of those things, because I know from doing this with Lata, what happens in my world cannot be an impression on your world,
Yeah.
right? When you're in that moment, you shouldn't be remembering what I said about what happened to me and then it becomes a part of your situation. No, that's private. That's your space. But when you're in for me, when at least I'm in that space of hypnosis with Lata, I mean, I feel my foot scratching. I scratch it. It's not like I'm going to fall apart, you know, or it happens.
It's
It's
not
just
like it's not like all the
trance. It's not a
myths
trance.
that you hear about in the movies or hypnosis like that, or you didn't feel any of that, right?
No, it's not like you become a zombie. It's not like you fall victim to this person who's going to tell you now, go walk off the side of a building or something. No, it's nothing crazy. It's I literally like I would be like, "Oh yeah," and I'm scratching or I'm like this or it's happening while I'm in my eyes just closed and I'm in that zone. But again, it's my zone. That's the other part. It's yours. It's your space. So like a dream, it's your dream,
Absolutely.
it's your
Absolutely.
space. So similarly, it's an experience that you cannot have unless you've experienced truly, and you cannot experience unless you give it a try, and you have access to a person who's going to be there for you to do this.
Thank you
And
for sharing this. I think, Savita, this was amazing. And I just want to kind of underline for our listeners that hypnosis is a completely safe experience. And to piggyback on the Staples story, similar to the Staples, many of us might have situations that trigger us. Such
mm,
situations that trigger us so much. It could be a relationship, it could be a past a negative experience, it could be a past trauma, or it could be like just going and speaking and making a presentation or driving on the freeway. We could have very specific situations that just thinking about it sends us into loops of anxiety, or where mind keeps obsessing and obsessing again and again and again about it, that we can't stop thinking about it, and we are literally traumatizing ourselves or torturing ourselves, right? So what we do in hypnosis is help us identify how the subconscious is processing that particular situation, and then change that program internally to make your subconscious look at that same situation a little differently, But we do that not as just like a cognitive thing. It's a very subconscious thing. It's a very deep rooted way of how the body and the mind is processing that particular situation, because it's generating emotions, it's generating a
Hmm.
negativity within us. And so just changing the way of processing is so powerful. And that is what, and that can be done in a very quick period of time, like Savita, you shared in your staples experience. And I'm guessing you never got panicky thinking about the staples after that.
No, not at all.
That's
And now, even in talking and sharing about the staples right now,
Mhm.
uh, I I see the staples in my mind looking down at it. I actually have the photos on my phone of the staples, and it just doesn't
Ex-
exist.
Exactly. And that the
It just
situation
doesn't
may not
exist.
change. And that's the beauty of hypnosis, that your external situation may not change. And sometimes situations in life are like that. You really can't control. And if it's a nasty boss or a very difficult spouse, or, economy situation going really berserk, those kind of situations will take its own time to change. But in the process, we don't have to feel anxious and panicky all the time just thinking about it. And that's where his hypnosis does. It's literally, I
It
would
does
say,
help.
it's magic. It's not magical, but it's also magical.
It's not magic, but it's magical. Yes, I think that's the best way to describe after when you've gone through the hypnosis session. But I think one of the things I would like to share here, the Staples story is a very critical situation. That's very critical. The other hypnosis sessions that I've had with Lata wasn't like that. I was dealing with the negative things in my life that had basically bubbled up to the surface and it was unbearable. That's truly what it was. But the hypnosis sessions weren't only the things we did when we met, and it wasn't all the time that we dedicated to it. There was other practices and tools and education that occurred in those different sessions, right? When a hypnosis session occurred with Ata and I, just on the let's give it a try, you've brought up something here that I think this might be beneficial to you. It wasn't critical. And only when we went through the actual hypnosis session on that day, on that matter, for whatever it was, and I sat with myself over those few days thereafter, because after a hypnosis session, you really do feel like you want to love how to say love on yourself more. You know, you kind of want to be there for yourself. You don't want to share your story with the world or people around you. My family, nobody knows the details of what goes on between Lata and I in that space. It's private. Only Lata knows. And I need that. And I want that because I don't need everybody else in my head, right? And or having their opinions of what I experienced be a part of my life, right? It's mine, so it's private. But what happens is, even in the hypnosis sessions that weren't critical, I didn't realize how critical things existed in my subconscious that was also playing in the background, right? It's like that. How do you describe it? Like the music in the back of an advertisement that you don't know is playing. Only until you hear the song or the commercial and you hear the chime of the music, you realize, oh, that's that commercial. So it's kind of like that. The stuff that's in the background constantly present, whether it's an anxiety loop or it's just a limiting belief or a it's a concept that existed from I don't know where, but it's there and it doesn't leave a positive impression. This hypnosis sessions actually worked toward it. And that's
Absolutely.
also because, like Lata says, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. This is true because once you go, I think for me, and you'll experience this for yourselves, once I go into my space from my session, it's me helping myself.
Hmm.
That's it. Lata is there, right? But it's me helping myself. You
Absolutely.
can't And I can't sit here and do a hypnosis on myself. I'm not going to do that because in the process of doing the hypnosis session, Lata is asking and guiding in certain ways based off of what I'm replying and sharing with her. And because she knows what she's doing, she's able to maximize the time in that space with me to benefit me once I'm out of that space.
Right.
That's what's relevant.
Mm.
That is what makes it so potent. And you have to experience. And hypnosis is a it's a concept out there that I don't know what other people really think about, because I don't really tell people about it. And I don't go shopping on looking out for other hypnosis other than trying to see if I could fall asleep at night, right? But even at that particular point, Lata has her recordings with our sessions, and there are things that are customized for me that helps me while I'm in rest or while I'm waking up, because we all wake up anxious. When you have anxiety, you wake up anxious, right? So there are things that Lata does with me for that. That's a part of my daily routine, and it's a blessing. And ultimately, those daily routines that Lata created for me actually is a part of my daily routine. It's not Lata in my world. It's Lata helps me on my journey in my world for me.
Yeah.
That's the part that makes her unique. And there may be other folks out there who's doing exactly what Lata's doing, but you're meeting Lata today. You would have been meeting those folks today instead. You're hearing my story today, or a piece of my story today, because you're supposed to hear my piece of story, because I had to live it to share it with you to this degree. So I hope that
Yeah.
helps.
No, that's great, Savita. Thank you for sharing. So, just like you, there may be a lot of people out there, younger people, older people who are going through anxiety, depression, panic, overwhelm, sleep challenges, bad choices. And that's really playing havoc with their joy and happiness and sense of peace, right? What would you, advise them if you could? What would you tell them, especially if they are on the fence for seeking any kind of support, not necessarily support with me, but any kind of support? What would your advice for them be?
When you're in that state of mind, or let me say it more correctly, when I was in that state of mind, the biggest part that prevented me from helping myself was that I didn't think I deserved it.
Mm.
That's the first question you have to ask yourself. If you can say, I don't deserve this, then that means you deserve it. You need it more than anything. And you have to make a little effort. Try for yourself. Lata said to me this the first time we met each other. Everything I want to help you with, Savitha, is to have more compassion to yourself, to be more kind to yourself, more compassionate. And I couldn't understand compassion, because compassion was designated to a holy personage who could give compassion. To think that I could have compassion for myself, going through all the stuff that I was already thinking about. And we all know when a person is anxious or you're panicked, you're in your head. That's the only language, the only person you're really talking to is yourself, right? And you're not just talking to the yourself, the one in the mirror. You're talking to versions of yourself, the positives and negatives. The am I crazy? Am I not crazy? Is this person? It has to be me. I'm the only person dealing with this. This is not right. I can't believe my life. Oh my God, it's like a whole whirlwind of things in your head, right? But you have to throw in there, I got to be compassionate to myself. And it's not just for women, this is men too. For any of the guys listening out there, I will promise you right now, you're not forgotten because you're a male. You don't have anxiety, you don't have panic. I'm positive you have all of it, because the men in my life that I love with all my heart, why they have a value is because I've seen them nervous, I've seen them anxious, I've seen them panicked, I've seen them freaking out, I've seen them ready to punch somebody in the face because they were hurt, I've seen them angry, I've seen them miserable, I've seen them hungry and angry, so angry, you know. So all these different feelings is it's there, it's a part of who you are as a guy. And I mean, I can't understand you to the depth that a male will understand you, but everything I think that I've experienced about healing should apply no differently to you, because you're a
Absolutely.
person
Absolutely.
and you have a heart and you have a soul, and you want to do the same good things or leave behind good things or be remembered for being a good person or being the best person you can be. So if I would want that for me, I think younger men and older men, no matter what your experiences are, you deserve the same. So this is for everyone because it's inside, it's you, it's a you thing.
Yes. What you're saying is don't hesitate to take support because you deserve it. And whether, regardless of whether you're a woman or a man or a
Yes.
child or whatever
So
role you're playing, you
So,
need.
and that's the thing. But when you're in that place, deserving and compassion, I ask, knowing that you deserve it, even if you don't think you deserve it, but you do, right? So, deservement and compassion will allow you to extend yourself out to say, I need help, to be vulnerable. And vulnerability is, I think, is might be like the other side of the coin is courage, right? Something like that. I'm pretty sure some intelligent person says it better than me, but if when you know you have to have that courage to ask for help, that vulnerability is not weakness, it is actually strength and courage. So you just have to.
The courage to be vulnerable. Yeah, you have to have the courage to be vulnerable, but find a person or support system that you feel safe in and
Mhm.
uh, work, be willing to work with yourself because you're worth it. Uh,
That's true. And that would eventually be the undertone of many of my sessions with Lata from the first session.
yes.
And it is a very huge transformative factor when you feel like nothing. You feel like you have nothing to offer, which is how I felt a lot. I felt like I had nothing to offer with everything I went through. So that's the hand holding I'm referring to that Lata gave. You know, she holds her hand through to that point. And yeah, there's many wise people you will meet in your life who you can say, well, I really don't, I have a support system. I think I'm good. It's the tools, it's the exercises, it's this time slot dedication that I say Mondays at this time to this time is my time with Lata. That in itself, knowing that I chiseled out my time for me with a person who is there for me, not just a person who might need to be like, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, I gotta go do laundry, or I got another phone call from a family member, or so. No, this is a person designated for me. It's it mattered. That really mattered. That I made that choice to want to help myself. And some sessions, I didn't even do anything. Lata did it for me because I wasn't in that space. I really went into the session going, I don't know if I could do this right now. Today's not a good day. And then when I got in the session and we started up, Lata read it, she saw it, she understood it, she knew what to ask, she knew how to guide, and boom, we worked through the session. And I came out the session, and then next week came and we did something. So it's a journey.
It's a journey.
Really.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful journey though.
Yes.
And it might be one of the best it, most scenic parts of the journey
So
in life.
how would you sum it up? Like, what was your overall experience in working with me? What do you think was the biggest thing that you got out of spending all of these time and sessions with me?
That you're not in my head.
Mm.
Um, you know, sometimes you can hear your parents telling you stuff in your head, right? Or you can hear, or you can be in a situation, you can imagine somebody you admire how they would respond to the situation. What would that person do? Even though you're a part of my growth and my self discovery, my self worth is my self worth. And that is very important. And you're not selling me my self-worth. You're showing me how to go within myself to get my own self-worth. So you're not in my head. And that's really important because I think folks think, oh, this person is just going to come there and they're going to try to sell you their idea or take forever to get you from point A to point B because they're trying to make money on you. No, 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 no. That's not that. That I don't know. I know about those things, but that's not this at all. You're not in my head. You've educated me for me. So why do I come back to you? Because why wouldn't I? You're there for me. You're seeing me from one point to the other point, So that means when it's time to cross another bridge, you're going to see me from that end to the other end. And the tools and your education and your qualifications and your experience and all of the stuff that makes you who you are and that you've invested in yourself so you can invest in another person, those are the things that will also aid me at that point. Because as I'm growing within myself, Lata's also growing within herself. She's
True.
always upgrading her education. So her education is upgrading as I'm upgrading. So it's meeting me as I'm progressing. And I've seen that in my sessions over the 2 years.
So what you're saying is that in sessions with me, you are shown the pathway back to your own light, so you can discover your own light
Yes.
and
Yes.
brilliance in your own light. Yeah, and
Yes.
that's exactly what I want to do, and I'm so glad that you felt that as an experience. That's exactly what I venture to do with each one of my clients. Helping them, and it's not that I am, teaching something to you. Rather, I'm just facilitating and guiding you in your journey towards discovering yourself. I use hypnosis and coaching as modalities to bring that. And it's almost like anxiety and stress and overwhelm are like clouds. And if we can just move aside those clouds, we get back in
Mhm.
touch with our own sun and the light within. So, with
That's a beautiful way of saying it. Yeah.
yes, yes, but I really thank you, Savita. It was really courageous of you. Generally, in my work, not many people, I don't even get too many testimonials because people hesitate to put their name in and share details, even though most of my clients see amazing recovery very, very quickly. I really applaud you for taking the time, taking the effort, and to speak so honestly, courageously, authentically about your journey. And, saying it not just for me but also for the benefit of thousands of people who are watching this, so that they can take advantage. And it need not be take advantage only with me, absolutely not. I think there are lots of healers out there who are working in the authentic space, who are working with tools, who are working with love and compassion. And if you can just find yourself a healer or a person who can hold your hand like that to help you guide you back to discovering your own light, I think that's what I wish for everyone who's watching this. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Really, really
I do
appreciate.
agree with.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I do
Chatting.
agree with.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, thank you. And to everyone, may this, if this is the first time you're learning about this, may this not be the only time you hear about this. And just as the destiny brought me to Lata, maybe destiny is bringing you to her now, or maybe one day in the future, or maybe for the loved ones in your life that you see struggling and you want to help and you don't know how to help, at least you have an option to speak to someone here. And if you can't speak to Lata, like she just said, there's many healers out there.
Yes,
Just as destiny brought me to her, so to destiny will bring you or the persons you love to that person.
absolutely.
Thank you.